In the last video, we accomplished adding code that will check if the user is authenticated using the Twitter API. But our code doesn't actually know if the response showed the user was authenticated or not. We just know that we were getting a result back. In this video, we will fix that and add the necessary code. We have seen what the XML result looks like when the user is authenticated. What happens when the user is not authenticated? Well, let's find out. We'll go ahead and build and run. And this time, when I pull down the window, I'm going to put in credentials that won't pass. Okay, so I'll quit this. And we can see down in our console, what we get back when a user is not authenticated is this right here. The XML code is returned, and it's returned with an error tag that says, could not authenticate you. So now we've got something to work with when a user is not authenticated. So let's go back over to the Twitter class, and we'll use the file history menu. So we're going to tmtwitter.m. And since we've just been doing a lot of testing, if you look down in the right-hand corner over here, we have a control reaches end of non-void function warning. And that's because we're telling it up here in our declaration that we're going to return a Boolean value. But when we get to the end of the method, we're not returning anything. We were just logging the string to the console so we could see it. But now that we have a way to check to see if the user was authenticated, we'll put that in and then we'll return the value based off of that. I think the easiest way to accomplish this is to use a method of NSString called rangeOfString. So let's do that. I'm going to come down and get rid of the log statement, and we'll add an if statement, and we'll say if the string, and then we'll use the rangeOfString method, and the string we're looking for is what we saw in the console just a minute ago, and that's could not authenticate you. Now what we have right there so far is going to return an NSRange. And as we know, an NSRange is a struct that has two things. It has a location and a length. The location determines the starting point of the string that it found. So that's what we'll look for. And to access the struct's members, we use dot notation. So we'll say dot location. Here we're going to use the not equals to. And to do that, we use the exclamation point and the equals. And that means not equal. And when the rangeOfString method is invoked, if it doesn't find the string you were asking it to look for, it'll return NSNotFound for the location. So that's what we're going to be checking for. So if it doesn't find that string, it means that the user was authenticated. And in that case, we would return yes. But if we do find it, we'll put in an else statement and we'll return no. Now after introducing this code, I've created another error. Do you see it? Right here we're saying if you do not find could not authenticate you, then return yes. But if you do find it, return no. In either case, it's going to return before it gets down to release this string. So the easiest way to fix this, we'll just delete all this code out, and we'll go up to the top here where we create the string, and we're going to add an auto release to the end of this. And to make this a little more legible, I'm going to return right here. So now we'll create the string and we'll put it into the auto release pool, which will happen sometime after this method is finished. And that's okay because we'll be done with the string at that point. So let's go ahead and build and just make sure the code compiles okay. I'm going to use the build button at the top. And it succeeded, no errors. So now our method is going to return a Boolean value, just like it says it will. And in our controller class, we need to receive that Boolean value and make a decision over there and log whether the user is authenticated or not. Let's do that now. So I'm going to go back to the main controller implementation file. So here, instead of just calling this method, we need to put in another if statement. So we're going to say if, I'll get rid of those. Copy that out. And that's going to be our test. So if the user is authenticated equals yes, and this time I'll use our tm log macro. Since I'm just passing in a string, and we'll just log authenticated. And if that doesn't come back as yes, we'll need an else statement. Then we're going to log not authenticated. And also I'm noticing that we have on our first statement, we're saying if the user has credentials, if that equals yes, we're going to perform these methods. But what happens if the user doesn't have credentials? Well, I think we need another else statement down here. And in this case, we'll just log that the user has no credentials.